Hey, how you guys doing? This is Neil from PerfectSunLED.com, and in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to make your own nutrients so you can save money, or at least make some of your own supplements and things like that so you can save money. And by the way, I am going to be offering here very soon, if you guys saw the hints, some nutrient products. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. So anyway, let's start with like fulvic acid, right? Now, even if you pay this ridiculous price per pound, and this is ridiculous price per pound, you can get way better than this. Just do a search on Google to buy a soluble powder fulvic acid. You could probably get it for, if you're only buying like a smaller amount, like $8 a pound. And then if you were to buy larger amounts, you can get that down even more. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to learn first how to do it with fulvic acid so you can make your own like fulvic line. Like Botanicare has something called Fulvex or something like that. And it's like, usually they sell like around $30 a liter, but the percent in there is anywhere from like 4% fulvic acid to about like 9% fulvic acid. So it's not very much actually. And fulvic acid is different than humic acid. Humic acid is not a natural chelate, whereas fulvic acid is. So fulvic acid will chelate even magnesium and calcium. And this is awesome because what a chelate is, and I can do a whole video on this, but what chelating is that the molecules basically act like little claws, which is what chelate means, and they grab onto the molecules. And so what happens is your soil wants to grab onto certain molecules as well, whatever you're growing in, cocoa, et cetera. Cocoa really loves to grab onto calcium. And when they grab onto it, they're like holding it with their own claws, and they're like, "I'm not letting go." And your plant's like trying to like grab it from them, and the the medium's like, "No, fuck you, you're not getting this." And so then the plant has a hard time getting it, and then it starves and dies. Well, not always the case, but it has a deficiency. But if you chelate those, then the chelating molecules grab onto that. And they're like, "No, fuck you, soil. You can't have this. I have it." And then the plant's like, "Oh, I like you. I can easily grab onto you." And it takes that molecule that has the chelate, which is holding on to, let's say, a calcium or holding on to iron, whatever, and it pulls it up. And then once it gets in the plant, it releases because of the certain chemical structure inside the plant makes so the chelate release it, and then now it's readily available inside the plant and it can feed on it. Okay, so fulvic acid is really beneficial as a chelating agent, and it's a more cheaper one versus like EDTA or something really expensive like EDDHA. So let's go and get started. The first thing we need to do though is we're gonna have to learn some math, right? And then I'm gonna also teach you how to like reverse engineer something like, well, maybe not quite reverse engineer, but make your own kind of version that's similar to, let's say, Floranova using the same technique. But first, we're gonna like I said, we'll start with fulvic acid. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to find out what percent we're going for. Let's say we're making our own CalMag, right? And we're like, okay, I'm going to use calcium nitrate because that's a good form of calcium, and we can chelate it pretty easily with, like, say, EDTA. And yeah, so we're going to do that, right? And I don't recommend don't use that along with like magnesium, like which is, or Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, because they don't really mix well together. I'm not going to get into all the chemistry of it, but instead just use magnesium nitrate. I know it's a little more expensive, but it's really not that bad. Okay, so the first thing you do is you're going to go target 3.2% because that's how much is like in Botanicare's CalMag of calcium. So that's our target, right? So once you have your target set, well, how do we figure out how to get that target? What we're trying to do is, let's say we're making a liter of it, right, at a time. We want that liter to contain 3.2% calcium, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do to figure out how many grams of calcium nitrate you're going to have to use to reach that target percent, which is going to give you something as strong as Botanicare's CalMag. And now you can actually use that just as you'd use Botanicare's CalMag. Of course, you'd also have to add the magnesium nitrate. Okay. And you can figure that out as well. The percent is like 1.2 of magnesium nitrate. All right, so here's how you do that. The first thing you want to do is you find the percent you want. We know that. And then just in case you don't know how to turn a percent to decimal, this is how you do it. So you just want to, divide. So let's go ahead and do that in the calculator here. This is just Windows calculator. So you're going to go 3.2. That's the target percent we want. And then you just divide that by 100. Now, some calculators will allow you to just hit percent sign and it'll automatically give you this. This one doesn't. But that's how you can do it. Okay, so now we have that number. Well, now what we need to do is we need to figure out, well, how much. The next stage is to figure out the amount of liquid that we're using. In this case, I'm going to use 1,000 milliliters. And just know that whatever this number is, that's what you're doing. Like I'm using milliliters. If you decide to use gallons, then you put whatever number of gallons you want here, and that would just be, you can either do it in milliliters, so you can, how many milliliters are in a gallon, you can use that number. How many quarts are in a gallon, use that number. Just know that that's the target you're shooting for. So if you use one here, then you're trying to figure out how much grams per that 1 gallon. Okay, anyway, so that this number can be anything depending on the amount of liquid and the measurement that you want to go for. I like using milliliters because milliliters is equivalent to grams when it comes to liquid water. Okay, so we're doing 1,000. So we're going to take this number and times it. Whatever we get from here, we're going to times that. So we're timesing 3.2% times 1,000, but we have to convert it. So then we're going to times that by 1,000. Right now we're at 32. And this number you want to write down. So just write it down so you don't forget it. And then the next part is we need to find the percent of how much we're shooting for calcium, right? We want 3.2% calcium. So how much calcium is in calcium nitrate? And if you like whatever calcium nitrate you're buying, you look at it and it's probably going to be 19% because that's typical. And so you go, okay, 19% is how much calcium I have in there, because you can't just put 32 grams per liter. That's not going to work, right? Because this isn't 100% calcium, right? It's 19% calcium. So then you just do 100 divided by whatever the percent is. So if in this case the amount of calcium in calcium nitrate is say 19%, which is typical, then you do 100 divided by 19. And so now I have a number that I need. And in order to figure out how many grams that I'm going to have to put into it, remember, I need to now times it by 32. So I'm going to times that by 32. That's the number that we wrote down. And now I know how much I have to add. I need to add 168.4 grams of calcium nitrate to 1,000 milliliters of water in order to achieve 3.2% per volume of calcium, right? So now I have the amount of calcium I need in my product to be like Botanicare's CalMag. And then you can do the same thing, but instead of 3.2, you do 1.2, and that will give you magnesium. Then just figure out how much the percent of magnesium is in there. Okay, so but now you want to know, well, how much is this costing me, right? Like, how much would this cost me for just this part, the calcium, let's say. So I have a way to figure that out, and then I have another thing I want to show you too, which is really cool, which is up here. Okay, so then we have this little thing I put together. So you want to find, I'm sure there's better equations you can use, but this is just easy and it works. So find a price per liter. So if it's calcium nitrate, let's say it's $12 a pound, right? Let's say that's the price you managed to find, $12 a pound, which is quite ridiculous. But if you're buying small amounts, it's going to be kind of expensive. But it's still going to be cheaper if you make your own CalMag than if you actually buy it per bottle. So even if you buy it at a price like this. Okay, so now you're going to divide the grams used by the grams in a pound and then multiply that by the price per pound. So let's go ahead and see what that means. So we know that this is the amount of grams we're using of our product, right? So we're using 168.4 grams of calcium nitrate for 1,000 milliliters, which would give us 1 liter. And so I need to divide that by a pound because I'm paying per pound, right? So $12 a pound. So I need to divide that by how many grams are in a pound. So 454. So you divide that by 454. And then what I need to do is I need to times that by the price that I'm paying per pound, right? Because remember, that's why I'm dividing it by pound, because that's how much I'm paying per pound. If you wanted, you can also just do this per, let's say. Anyway, there's other ways you can do it. You can what's my price I'm paying per quarter pound, whatever. Anyway, this is the easy way to do it. And then you want to times that by that number. So we're going to times that by 12. That's how much we're paying per pound. And this gives us how much we're paying per liter now. So we're paying $4.45 per liter. So far, so good. That's actually pretty cheap. We're going to be using less magnesium nitrate, and so that's going to be even a smaller number. And so basically, even at this ridiculous price, because you can't buy much of it at a time, because it's to say you can't afford to buy a bulk of it, whatever, you're still saving money, right? You're going to be making a bottle of CalMag probably for like $10 or something. Actually, the more expensive thing to buy is going to be some sort of chelating agent. You can actually use fulvic acid, but most people are going to use something like EDTA for this, and that's going to be a little more expensive to buy. and it's harder to find in smaller quantities for a reasonable price, but you're going to be using very little of it, so it shouldn't really increase the price too much. Okay, so anyway, that's how you do it. Now, what if you want to make, oh yeah, one other thing I want to show you real quick. So what happens if the product has two things in it? You want to know, well, how much, okay, that tells me how much calcium I wanted in it, and now I know I have a liquid now that has 3.2% calcium, but how do I figure out how much nitrogen I put in? Because remember, calcium nitrate also has nitrogen in it, and it's usually 15.5%. So you look at the product, you see the percent of it is, and this is what you do right here. So you take your 168.4 grams. That's how much of this product we have to use to achieve our calcium at 3.2%. And you just figure out what's the percent of the other stuff in it. So in this case, we want to know, well, how much nitrogen am I putting in by doing this then? So we have 15.5% nitrogen in this product, and so we just multiply that by 15.5, and oops, I did something wrong. Oh yeah, okay, duh. My bad, sorry. 168. I'm used to do this on my phone, and so it's like, anyway, times 15.5. You have to hit the percent sign. And so we have 26.1 grams. So now we know that we have 26.1 grams. So of the 168.4 grams, 26.1 grams of that is nitrogen. Okay, well, that still doesn't solve the problem yet. So now we have to go a little bit further. So we just kind of reverse the process. Now we're going to go divide that by 1,000 because we have 1,000 milliliters. So we're going to divide that by 1,000, and then we're going to multiply that by 100 to get our percent. And bam, so we have 2.61% nitrogen. So far in our product, we have 3.2% calcium and 2.61% nitrogen. And you do the same thing with the magnesium, and then you'll know, and then you just add those numbers together to figure out how much total nitrogen you have in your product. And that's why CalMag has nitrogen in it, because there's only so many places you can get calcium and magnesium from. You can try to make like a cheaper version using calcium sulfate and magnesium sulfate, but then you're going to have sulfur. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's how to do that. Now let's go and do the same thing, just for we make sure we solidify this in our mind for fulvic acid. Now, not all fulvic acid is equal, so you want to figure out what you're buying, what's the percent of fulvic acid in that product. Maybe it's only 60%. If you get a good fulvic acid powder, it's going to have like 90% fulvic acid, and that's what you want. This one, I don't even know if it tells us the percent. Let's see. Also, fulvic acid usually has nitrogen and potassium in it. Sometimes even has phosphorus a little bit, but they're only, I guess the numbers are probably too low for them to mention, so they're only mentioning the potassium that's in it. Oh, here we go. So they have highly concentrated. It says 75% fulvic acid. I don't know if that's highly concentrated, because you can definitely buy it at 90%. But anyway, so we now know 75% is what we have here. All right, so now all we have to do is go, what's our target percent that we want to achieve of fulvic acid? Let's say we want it to be like a higher end product, and we want like 9% fulvic acid, or maybe we want even more than that. Or maybe you only want to do like 4 or 5% fulvic acid. Anyway, let's go with 9% fulvic acid. So now we know our target is 9%. So let's go 9 divided by 100. And then we need to do that by the amount of liquid. So we're going to times that by 1,000, because we're doing 1,000 milliliters, let's say. Now we have 90 grams. So we want to put that aside and remember that we have 90 grams. And then we need to find the percent. So we know it's 75%. So we do 100. So we're here. 100 divided by 75. So that gives us this number. And then we times that by the original number, which was 90. That we're either memorize or write it down. And so now we know we need 120 grams of this product, this that we're buying on Amazon here, of fulvic acid, in order to achieve a 9% saturation in our liquid. Cool. So we got that part figured out. Well, how much is this going to cost us? And if you want to figure out how much other stuff is in it, you just go, well, how much, what's the percent? Yet that they don't tell us. Well, actually, they do tell us here, 1%. So now you can do the same math we did before. to figure out the amount of potassium in this product by this is 1% here. So these numbers are always percentage of volume. So that's just in case you didn't know that. The NPK numbers that are on product is the percent of them per volume that's in it. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back, get this back up. So now we have that. And we want to know, well, how much is this going to cost us then if I make my own fulvic acid? And I got to keep in mind, you have to use RO water or distilled water, so calculate that into your cost. But, distilled water is pretty inexpensive, but, it's going to add at least, a few cents per liter, probably like 30 cents per liter, something like that. I don't know. Depends how much you get your distilled water for. Or if you have your own RO water, then, it's just costing the amount of your RO thing. Anyway, so now we got to take that number, we got to divide it by the pound, 454 grams. And then we need to times that by the price that we're paying. So what are we paying for this? Let's just say that we're doing this right now. We're paying $32 per pound. And so then you would want, just make sure you times it by $32 a pound. And so we're paying $8.45 per liter. Now that's actually really good. So even if you buy fulvic acid at this ridiculous price, right? This is really expensive per pound. Like you can easily find this if you just do a Google search for much cheaper. Even if you're only buying 1 pound of it, you could probably get 1 pound if you're buying 1 pound at a time for like 13, 14 bucks, 15 bucks pretty easily. Right, so anyway, so now we're paying $8.45, and I don't know, maybe $9 after you calculate the water. And there you go. So now you just made your own fulvic acid for like $9, like no problem, right? Or under $9 for sure. And if you go and try to find fulvic acid, right, it's really hard to find it at 9%. I think full power might be 9%, if I remember correctly, but it's hard to find. So you've made a super high quality version of it, right? Much more strong, and you can easily use this at like 4 milliliters a liter without harming your plants and actually benefiting them. Sorry about the phone in the background. You're not going to harm your plants doing that. So there you go. Now you've just learned how to make your own fulvic acid. And you can do this for other things, right? Like I just showed you how to make your own CalMag too, basically. You just got to figure out the percent of the magnesium and then the percent of, in this case, you can do like, I'll probably only do like 4% fulvic acid in it, but I would probably use like an EDTA just to make sure you're really getting it chelated nice and well. Okay, but what if you wanted to try to make your own actual nutrient, like your own like hydroponic based nutrient? Well, you can do that too, and you can do it from just chemicals. Like you don't have to. One thing I'd recommend buying, rather than buying them individually, is buy like a good mix, a pre-mix of your micronutrients, because this is gonna be much easier to work with. It's already just micronutrients all mixed together in a nice powder, and you just grab that and throw it in, and now you have all your micronutrients in there. But if you want, you can add them all individually as well. It just takes longer. Okay. And you have to do some really precise measurements. And if those measurements are wrong, you can like really harm your plant. So make sure you have a really accurate scale. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. What would we do to do that? Well, we're going to look up General Hydroponics Flora Nova, because I know that's somebody that actually shares everything that's in it. They don't make you like search around. So oftentimes it'll just be the amount of, which is fine, usually just the amount of CalMag and NPK, because that's like what's important. Everything else is, we don't need to know that exact thing, but they actually share it. And let's see here, go down here, full analysis. And here's everything that's in it. You can also look at the product label. It's actually on the product label as well. So if you have this product, you can actually see it on the product label. Boom, like that. They also even say where it's derived from, so you can actually kind of reverse engineer this. It shouldn't be too difficult. Notice they use a lot of EDTA for chelating, and usually there'll be extra if you even add a little extra. But usually each one of these will have a little extra clause, basically. So it'll also just having that in there will help to chelate other nutrients in here, such as the magnesium, the calcium. And also chelating nutrients helps, it doesn't actually chelate nitrogen stuff, but it helps nitrogen and phosphate and potassium to be more readily available for the plant. Okay, so anyway, let's say we wanted to go ahead and do this and we wanted to kind of make this. So we know we need 4% nitrogen. Well, you don't have to use whatever they use to get nitrogen, right? We know that they're getting nitrogen from calcium nitrate. They're not using magnesium nitrate, which this is why The only reason why they're able to put these two in the same thing. Now, when you make your own nutrients, there's certain things you want to know. There's certain things you can't mix together. Now, they're using a really low acid content for this product and a couple other tricks in order to have calcium nitrate and magnesium sulfate in the same bottle. But typically you separate that. So basically you want your calcium nitrate in its own bottle. So that would be like your B. And your A would contain your magnesium and your main NPK and like all the micronutrients. And then your other bottle would just contain calcium nitrate and, and maybe even phosphate nitrate or potassium nitrate, I meant. And then you can also put the micronutrients in that bottle. It doesn't matter. Either bottle will be fine. I recommend putting it in the bottle with magnesium because then you can use a preservative so that one stays. The calcium nitrate will like pretty much stay forever. And if you add a little bit of potassium nitrate with it, that's fine. That bottle will stay without any, you don't have to add any preservative to that. And that's going to stay good for a long time, probably forever. And then the other bottle, you want to put some sort of preservative in it, like sodium benzoate or something like that it's called. Anyway, right. So if you want to try to figure out what they're using to get, they also use potassium nitrate in this product so that we know they're getting some nitrogen from that as well. And so you got to figure out, what has a good amount of nitrogen and to get the kind of target you want. So that's where the formulas come in. And I'm not going to like share my formula or anything, but, and oh, I just gave it away. Yeah, I'm going to be coming out with a nutrient line that I've been using for myself. And it's actually really good. I like it better than, obviously I like it better than, not just because of the price, but just because it's better. Because I know what to put in it. I know what I put in it. I get basically I love Platinum Series Flora or Cycle Flower. I love it. It's great. Really high quality stuff. But the problem is I don't like the ratios that it is, and it's kind of I have to use both, grow and bloom. I wanted something I can just use bloom. Like when I used to use I would just use this the whole grow because it has a nice balance to it. And so I went with something I wanted less. The only thing I never liked about this though is that it has a higher phosphate, right? I didn't want a lot of phosphorus, so you want this number lower. And so anyway, I devised a good nutrient line that actually has lower number for that middle, and then a good numbers on good nitrogen and good amount of potassium, a nice balance that will easily work throughout the entire grow from seedling all the way to finish. So you don't have to use just one just use one product, which I'm calling complete A, complete B. And that's, because it's A, B product, but you just use that one line. You don't have to use grow and bloom. It's just one thing through the whole grow. And then you can use like a PK booster, for through flower, because that's always recommended. All right. So then you just go, I want to achieve 4% nitrogen, right? So how do I do that? Well, let's say I wanted to achieve 4% nitrogen using just calcium nitrate. Well, that's not going to be possible because if I do that, then the amount of calcium is going to be way too much. You really don't want to go over 4% calcium in your nutrient line. So now you have to use more than one product to achieve that. So maybe you can use calcium nitrate and magnesium nitrate, for example. And by using those two, you can achieve a pretty good, around 4%, 5% nitrogen just by having calcium at 4%, let's say magnesium at 2%. So you can actually achieve these two things right here. And that should give you the amount of nitrogen that you need. Or you can do like they did. You can try to get your nitrogen from potassium nitrate and calcium nitrate. And that will give you probably a lower number. If you want a slightly higher number, then I recommend shoot for target 4% calcium and 4 or 2% magnesium using calcium nitrate and magnesium nitrate. And that's going to give you probably around 5% nitrogen, something like that. And you just do all the stuff that we just went through. So you go, okay, I want to hit a target of 4% calcium using calcium nitrate. And so we just use the exact same thing we just did over here. And we'll just run just to make sure it's clear in your mind, because I hate it when I don't understand something in a video. And so I want to try to make it as most understandable as possible. And sorry for all the background noise. The dog's barking. I might have to. All right, so looks like she stopped. All right, so then we do the same thing we did before. So in this case, instead of 3.2%, we're going to shoot for 4%. And you just do the same stuff. Beep, beep, beep. All right, so at some point, I don't know when I had to start over because, not start over, but, I had to cut some stuff out because the dogs are barking and stuff. Someone at the door. So sorry about any background noise you might hear. Anyway, so let's say we want to hit this target of 4%, right? We're trying to get something similar to Florinova. We're trying to make our own Florinova. And so we want, and I can do a full video. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, I can do a full video, like try to get as close as you can to making Florinova, but maybe with even better ingredients. Or not Florinova, but like something that will work the same, that has similar numbers, but with A and B instead of, because this is going to be harder to do just one part. Like I said, there's certain things you can't mix together, and they make it work here, and it's not easy to do. All right, so we'll start with the calcium. So we want 4%. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I just want to give an idea, and if you want like another video on this, let me know, and I can go through the whole thing, how to like everything you need to do to try to achieve this, and like what products you can use to do it. Anyway, so we're going to add calcium at 4%. We're just going to use the same calcium nitrate to do that. And let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do for everything here is the same. So if you want, just take a screen. I'm not going to save this or anything and put it in the link. Just copy this, like literally take a screenshot. One way to do that on Windows is if you don't know how to do it on your phone, I can't remember how to do it on phones, but I think you hold down a couple buttons and take a screenshot and you can save it. Or, just pause the video when you ever need this, or like hit Windows key and Shift key at the same time and then hit S. And that brings up this little thing that allows you to drag and copy a certain part of the screen. And then you can save that and then copy and paste, or now it's already copied to clipboard. Then you just paste that somewhere like in, Paint or something, and then save it as a JPEG. Okay, anyway. Or you can like just write some of this down so you have like your own notes. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this going. So 4% is our target. So again, just to make sure it's solidified in the head, you do 4% here, and then divide that by 100 to get the percent that we want. So that's percent into a decimal, 0.04. And then the amount of liquid we're using. So let's say we're making a liter. So 1,000 milliliters is the number. I'm gonna work in milliliters because it's equivalent to, like, it transfers well to grams. That's why I like doing this. So we're gonna times that by 1,000. And then we have 40, so just write that down somewhere. So we have 40, write it down. And after a while, you can kind of start to see, like, you kind of just visualize 0.032 times 1,000. That's why another reason I like 1,000, because it just makes the numbers really easy. 32 is kind of easy to predict what the numbers will be. So you can probably already see that you could have just predicted this was going to be 40. You wouldn't have to do the math. You just, in your head, go, okay, I know that's 40. And go, okay, so now we have 40, and then we need to figure out the percent. We already know the percent is 19, and so we just do 100 divided by 19%, because that's how much percent of calcium is in our product, in our calcium nitrate, and we're going to times that by the 40. And now we have 210.5 grams is how many grams of calcium nitrate we'll be using. And then we want to figure out the nitrogen, because that was the whole point, right? But we didn't want to go over 4% calcium. So how much nitrogen did we achieve by doing this? We haven't reached our mark yet for sure, because we're definitely want more nitrogen in our product than this. So then we needed to use this calculation up here in order to figure out how much nitrogen was there. And so then we're going to take that number and we're going to times it by the percent of nitrogen in the product, which is 15.5%. It should be, that's usually what it is. Just make sure to use the numbers that are actually on the product you're using. And then make sure to hit the percent sign this time. Right, so we have, and make sure, this calculator I have to actually hit equals. I'm used to my phone calculator where I don't have to hit equals. It just shows me, it updates right away. Anyway, so 32.6, and then we need to divide that by 1,000 times it by 100 to get the percent. So this is how many of those grams. So of those 210 grams, 32.6% of those grams, or 32.6 of those grams, sorry, not percent, of those exact grams are nitrogen. So what percent is that then? So then we go, well, what percent is that of 1,000 milliliters? So we divide that by 1,000 milliliters, and then we're going to times that by 100 to get the percent. And now we know it's 3.26%. So far we've gotten our nitrogen up to 3.26%. That's actually not too bad, especially for like if you're making, a bloom specific or something. You might not want to go higher than that. I like being a little higher than that personally. I like being more like around 5 because it needs nitrogen throughout their whole life. But some people like to use less nitrogen for certain reasons. But if you're doing hydro, you kind of need that nitrogen. Anyway. So now we've gotten close. So what if we use like magnesium nitrate or potassium nitrate to make up for the rest of that. And so if you're we're making A and B, so you can actually put calcium nitrate and potassium nitrate in the same bottle, and they will be compatible with each other, and that's fine. And that will store for a long time without even having to use a preservative. So you can just add potassium nitrate to that bottle, and now you have a good amount of nitrogen. I don't want to go through all that and bore you with it, but it's the same procedure. Go find a product that's potassium nitrate, and then find out, the percentages in it, which they will tell you in the description, or whatever. And then you go, okay, I know the percentage of everything that's in it, and then do the same math, and you'll know how much more nitrogen you're adding, and and how much potassium you're adding, because you want to add a certain percent of potassium as well to your product. And so the hard part is just getting it all balanced, right? And so anyway, if you want to, I don't want to take too much time in this video. So if you want me to try to get these numbers, right, we'll figure out what products we can use to achieve these numbers and get something similar to Florinova, but with A and B. And it'll probably be superior because we probably won't have to use things like ammonium, which is a slower version of nitrogen. Although, I mean, it's pretty available to the plant, but I think for hydroponics, it's better to use, like nitrates. So anyways, that's that. Beep, 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 beep. High quality collated. Uh, all right, cool. Hey, man, do me a favor. If you've liked this video so far, smash that like button. I appreciate it so much. That'd be awesome. And so, I obviously appreciate your support. And then let me know what you guys want to see in the future. Do you want to see, if you really want to see me break down, like I can show you all the different products to buy and how to make like your own version of Florinova. And if you want to know how to do it, because it's going to be cheaper than, even if you can't, like, we should be able to get it much cheaper, even if you can't afford to buy that much at a time of each product, right? You can only afford like a pound of each thing. You get the idea. Another one that's going to be available very, very soon is my flower girl. I want you guys' opinion on this. If I could get it, I would really appreciate it. This was one idea, because all the products are using, to give you an idea, are using like plants and stuff, right? This is colossal P. This is equivalent to if you were to mix Canna Boost, which is super expensive per liter, by the way, like insane. Uh, the amount they charge per liter is insane. They're such a ripoff. But it does actually work. It's just a super ripoff, and it's a collection of hormones. And I'll talk about that in another video if you guys want, about hormone products to use and if they work and why to use them. Anyway, so it's like mixing that with a little bit of root zone or rhizotonic or something, and then Terpinator, something like Terpinator, or there's other products too, like Snowstorm. Anyway, so with the Flower Girl, I have this picture, and the other one I have that is my original idea is this one here. And the only reason why I went with the, just something else, like and if you have another idea, anything, if you have any ideas at all for anything, like this is pretty much in stone. But if you even have an idea for the logo, Perfect Nutrients, if something you just think is off, you don't like, let me know and I can consider it. But like if you think anything just doesn't look good, just let me know. I'm kind of emulating Botanicare because they have a really, really good sense of design. Whoever designed their labels and stuff is a really good designer. My only concern with this, the reason why I wanted your opinion, is it's kind of cartoony, and I don't know. I'm thinking, like, what if people see it and they're like, I don't know, got a cartoon on it. I don't want nothing with a cartoon on it. Now I know like Advanced Nutrients has different products with like Overdrive that has like silly like some of their stuff is kind of silly looking even. I think this is not silly looking at all, but it's kind of comic-y, And so I'm thinking, should I? And it's also kind of different from all my other product that I'm doing. I'm doing like photos of fruit and vegetables and flowers and stuff. So should I use this? Because it kind of, says the same idea that this is going to make your flowers bigger. So anyway, enough talking. Thanks for listening, and I hope that my rambling here for my rambling is actually longer than the video, I think. Anyway, double peace, guys.